A glance is all it takes. That one quick look tells you everything you need to know. You see Pininfarina's finest haunches, the flash of yellow, a cheeky vent, 4 pipes standing proud at the rear. The short wheelbase Ferrari 250 GT Berlinetta is a thing of beauty and the stuff of legend. Its shape is iconic, beloved by tifosi all over the world. Its V12 soundtrack is one of the all-time greats. Except this right here isn't, but it sort of is, but it sort of isn't. Meet the GTO Engineering 250 short wheelbase Revival, the 250 that isn't a 250, except is exactly like it in every way. Allow me to explain. GTO Engineering's day job is to restore and maintain Maranello's finest. Whether you daily or Dino, or only take your F40 out on special occasions, they'll keep you running. Or if your pride and joy needs returning to its former glory after a meeting with a tree or extended time in a rat-filled barn, they'll do that too. And it's because of the restoration business and 2008's recession that the Revival exists. See, it turns out if you need a part designed for a hand-built car that was created in the middle of the last century, getting hold of an original can be a teeny tiny bit tricky. So GTO Engineering started making its own. You name it, GTO can make it for you. So the parts, the pieces, are literally in the right place. But how does a financial crisis play into all of that to make that? When all the money falls over, as it did in this century's first once-in-a-lifetime financial crash, what's the one thing that stops happening? No one spends any money. Even the type of person who has a garage full of super rare prancing horses. For a business that specialises in them, that can spell trouble, especially a business stuffed to the rafters with highly skilled craftspeople who enjoy what they do. It's at this point the boss man, Mark Lyon, had a bit of an idea. See, his company could reproduce, recreate pretty much anything, and his team could more than brilliantly put that anything together. So why not build its own car? If you were to see this in the street, up close and personal, what would you think it is? Chances are you'd start losing your head, because who sees a short wheelbase 250 just parked in the street? No one does. Originals are as rare as hen's teeth, worth more than is reasonable, and are as special as they come. Only the deepest, most intense, colossally nerdy Ferrari numbers geek would know. Many marvellous things about this Revival car is that there's no nod to modernity. There are no screens or CarPlay or anything like that. You can spec a USB port so you can charge your phone as you drive, but it doesn't connect to anything. It just sort of is. It's just there. You enter with an empty phone, you leave with a full one. And you can spec air conditioning, which is a good thing because this is something of a greenhouse at the moment. But other than that, your options are, well, a 3, 3.5 or 4 litre naturally aspirated V12, a 4 or a 5-speed gearbox, your interior trim, your exterior colour, and a few other, sympathetic, as would have been, choices. That's it. Except it's not quite like that. See, the parts in here are used, in part, using modern technology to millimetre perfect tolerances, and they're screwed together by people in the 21st century. It's new and likely better put together than an original because, well, it would be. It's at this point, friends on the internet, I have to admit something to you. I've never driven a real Ferrari 250 anything. I know it's a huge blind spot and I've let you down, I've let myself down. Let everyone down. But what I do know is, in here I've got a 3.5 litre naturally aspirated V12 connected to a 5-speed manual gearbox. It's got 320 horsepower that delivers power to the rear wheels, and it'll do 0 to 60 in 6 seconds and top out at over 150 miles an hour, which is a good enough starting point for me, don't you think? Let's talk about drive. The one thing that's overwhelming about this is how solidly together it's screwed. I've driven classic cars before where you go, oh wow, this is a car from the 1950s, this is very special, but if I look at that switch funny, is it going to fall off? Whereas in this, I don't have to worry about prodding the dash and my finger going through it. And with the steering wheel, there's not loads of wibble wobble in it. You turn it and around you go. There's always a bit of a worry when you get into Revival or Restomod cars that the
quality might not be quite there, but because the people that screwed this together, well, their job is to screw together actual Ferraris, they know where each bit goes. So, feels great. Big tick, big tick. What about the driving experience? Well, the steering is smooth and pure. Yeah, it's unassisted, so it's heavy, and it gets quite warm in here because there's a big engine there. So my hands are sweaty on the wood rim wheel, so I'm kind of gripping on for dear life at the minute. But you tip the car in, and the front wheels communicate. You know what it's up to. It feels good. It wants you to know what it's up to. It wants you to enjoy it. Bear in mind, this is a revival of a GT car from the 60s. It's the car to enjoy, to cad around in, and generally have a good old time, what? And then, of course, we have the noise. The noise is special. It's a hand-built 3.5 litre V12. It's just phenomenal. It's so gorgeous. You knock it down, you point it to a distance, and you just let it go. I want to be on an Alp. I want to be driving around an Alp listening to the noise bounce off everything. It is amazing. It feels awesome. And because there's no weight here, it weighs 1,020 kilos. That's what GTO told me. That's not much weight for 320 horsepower to push. So you get this beautiful linear throttle response, and you just rip up the revs. And you get noise, and you get performance, and you get a big happy feeling in your tummy, and it's brilliant. And I said tummy, that's how much of a child this makes me feel, because it's magic. But just noise. Noise alone, 1,000,000 out of 1,000,000 points, well done. The brakes are unassisted, but they don't feel like they're going to bite you. There's not kind of nothing, big load of force, wheel lock up, screaming. It's not like that. They're smooth, they're simple, they're easy to use. There's a tiny bit of dead space, but then after that, again, it's linear, it's gentle. You don't end up with a massive right calf muscle. One of the most joyous things about this, though, is the gearbox. The clutch is super light, kind of springy, but not in a bad way, not in an overwhelming modern car way. That gear shift, it's beautifully notchy. Nice light dip of the clutch, in, go. It's a wonderfully communicative car. It's a confidence-inspiring car too, not in the drive, because it drives like a classic car. Everything's chunky and lumpy and requires effort, which is fine, but the confidence comes from the fact that you don't have to worry about it. You can feel everything about the car, from the tiniest movements on the gas to the tiniest movements on the steering. The rear will communicate with you, the front will communicate with you. It doesn't feel heavy, it doesn't exhaust you. This is a car designed to be driven.
This is a special car, one that stirs the soul, that feels like an event, that makes you do a big grin. Every detail is perfect. It looks, feels and smells incredible. There will be some of you out there who have a very valid question about it though, and that question is why?
A legit one of these, a legit short wheelbase Ferrari 250 comes with baggage. Serious baggage. One, they are an alarming amount of money if you want to get hold of one. Like crazy money. Two, probably quite fragile because, well, it's a hand-built Italian sports car from the 1960s. Yeah, gonna be fragile. And three, it falls into that sort of any mileage is bad mileage bit of classic cardom. So you can't really use it without feeling guilty. It's a brilliant prize to have, but as a car, a bit of a faff, which is where these revival cars come in.
You can use this. It's been built so that it'll start every time. If you have a prang, while it'll still be a pain to fix, it won't destroy the car's value. You can put miles on its box fresh engine and not worry. You can have fun without a care in the world. There is one small sticking point, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to guess what it is. It's the price. Between £750,000 and £800,000 depending on spec and taxes and all that. However, if you're looking at one of these, you're probably not going to be worrying about such fripperies as money.
For all intents and purposes, this is the perfect copy. It looks right, it sounds right, it feels right. This is as close as most of us will ever get to the real thing, which it kind of is, but also kind of isn't. And that's basically how my inner monologue is going to go for the foreseeable future.